Welcome to Never Rewrites. I'm Isaac Askew.
And I'm Jeffrey Sherman, and today we're going to discuss the pause. So in a rewrite, it typically starts off all as well. You've got a subset of the team working on the new system. They're going to build out the framework, and it will all be well. And initially the timing will always be, or the belief will always be, oh, we'll get it done so quick it won't even be a problem. But the reality is, eventually, it's going to have gone on long enough that the parts of the team that aren't working on the rewrite will keep adding new features to the existing code. And that creates more work for the team that's doing the rewrite.
Drift, yeah.
Right. And eventually you're going to have 6 months of work from from the new team, from the rewrite team, and it's providing no value because it's not released, it's not in production. Because again, when we talk about rewrites, and we're talking about a big bang rewrite where people use the old system one day and the next day they'll log in and it'll be the new system. And so there's no value, there's no incremental value. Nothing's work. It's all work in progress. Your customers get no value from the work until it's all done and released.
Right.
And what will eventually happen is you will get to the point where you will discuss the pause, where you say, we're going to pause new development on the old system just for a month or two, so that everyone who is not working on the new system can ramp up on the new system, and we can finish the new system and do the cutover. So typically it's we're just going to pause. It'll be the pause right before we do the cutover, and it's only going to be a month or two while we finish it up.
Okay.
And it's never a month or two.
You're about to say, what goes wrong?
Well, the first part is the implicit nature of this always happens is you split the team, right? You've got one team doing keep the lights on the current system, and you've got one half the team doing building the new system. And what inevitably happens is the half of the team that's not working on the rewrite doesn't know the new system. They're not fully capable, they're not up to speed on the new system. And that sort of gets lost in the wash. And it's like, the pause. This is the time when everyone's realized, the other developers haven't ramped up. This is when they're going to ramp up, and so that makes sense. And also, how could we, the new developers, possibly keep up with the old developers, right, and get this thing done when they keep adding new code,
right?
Even though, of course, the whole basis of the rewrite project is invariably that the new system will be so much better. We'll be able to write code so much faster. And so the pause, it's an inherent indictment of the entire new system in a way, because you've got the new system, which is supposedly going to make development so much easier, but you need to pause development on the old system so you can get it done and get it out.
What do you say to the people who want to do the pause up front? So instead of getting it, trying to constantly catch up to the team that's adding bug fixes and new work that you have to have parity with, and then stopping right before you cut over. What about people who pitch the idea before the rewrite starts? Like, oh, we're going to rewrite, but during this entire process, we can't be writing any new code while we do the rewrite. So we're not going to do any bug fixes at all, and we're just going to do one code over then.
At the end of the day, I think it's the same. Well, it's more defensible, but it's equally unrealistic, and it will shorten your runway. Like the pause is the period right before the whole project goes to hell.
Right.
Because the pause puts pressure on the current system, because you're not going to be fixing bugs, and you're definitely not going to be releasing features.
It looks like a pause on customer value,
essentially. Right. It's absolutely a pause on customer value. Right. We're pausing current value creation in the hopes of getting enough new value creation later to offset it. And the longer it goes on, the worse that metric looks. Like the worse of a bet it looks. And so it's a phase of the rewrite, and like I said, it's one of the last phases. The pause is what usually happens, and the pause ends when the pressure gets too high. We now have to resume development on the old system. And when that happens, that's when you've completely lost faith from leadership.
So that's when you get the okay. Well, now we have to start fixing stuff again in the old system, and then in the new system, and there's still more drift. There's still more work to be done in the new system, and eventually they're like, "All right, guys, we're cutting this project. This is just a waste of money."
Right. Yeah. Well, it's like, no, we're not going to keep going. Um, right. The pause is right before the collapse.
It's the eye of the storm. It's the scary part.
It is. But it's pitched as a forward motion. It's
Right.
actually an admission of defeat almost, because we have to stop the other team. The other team is moving too rapidly. We need to stop them if we're going to do this cutover.
Yeah.
And again, it's an entirely artificial thing built in by the idea of doing a rewrite with a big bang cutover. If you were iteratively fixing this stuff, or not doing a big bang cutover and just iteratively replacing, if you were thesis shipping,
Mm-hmm.
then you would never need the pause. The pause would never even make sense.
Yeah. It also goes back to this, I guess, this fascination with people wanting to either keep new things under the wraps long enough to like have like a really incredible dramatic surprise, like as if like the customer will be so shocked by how cool and beautiful the new system is that they would rather have not had it for 6 months, had pieces of it for 6 months. You know,
Mm-hmm.
to me, there's almost insanity to the idea that we actually have one of the pages rebuilt. The UI is much better. It's much easier to understand, and it's actually ready. But it's tied to the release of this whole big thing. Instead of us giving you just that one little thing that we could ship in a small piece to deliver value, we're just going to hold it because we want to have like this really dramatic reveal. Like,
Right.
why?
Well, I think we talked about this in an episode or two ago, where
Mm-hmm.
the dramatic reveal is a total violation. If you work in SaaS, is a total violation of the principle.
Right.
It is always more about you than the customer.
Yeah. The success, like a big successful project. It looks
Mm-hmm.
like a huge project, and suddenly, like you can compare and contrast. Like yesterday it was this, and now everything's totally different. Whoa! Look at
Mm-hmm.
the new thing,
Ooh.
and it kind of gets lost in it if you deliver it in pieces, because like again, like the customer sees it, but like if you're trying to sell a successful project, you know, and you're delivering it in smaller pieces, I guess maybe there's not as much of an oomph there. But I totally agree that it's still more about you than the customer, which is an inversion of the whole point of the business.
Right. It requires you to have it's a harder story to tell.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And also like the idea too, like I have a bug fix for you in the new system, or like the new system's going to work away that's going to help you. I'm just not going to give it to you for for another 4 months. You know, isn't that just like insanity?
The pause is insanity.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I see it. A few months ago, or even a month ago, it's like, I wanted to say we should pause. And I was
Hmm.
like, oh, no, 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 we can't. It's like, if you ever think, oh, well, we need to do this pause so we get this new system out, it's a blaring red flag that something has gone horribly, horribly wrong, which was entirely the
Too late
case
at
there.
that point. Yeah.
It was much too late. But I'm like, wait, I'm about to suggest the pause. I know that's wrong.
Mm,
Why am I doing this? I'm like, oh, right, everything's totally gone off the rails already.
got it. All right. Any
And
other
there
ideas on the
is a
pause?
conundrum.
Oh, what's the conundrum?
If you're in a situation where the pause seems like it makes sense, right? What do you do instead? Because we're saying the pause is the sound before the defeat.
What you do is you never get that far to begin with. You roll back time.
You roll back
Yeah,
time
but
and don't make the mistakes in the first place. Uh, but I think what you do is you just try to get out of the pause. Like, we're not going to do the pause,
yeah,
and acknowledge that that sucks.
Right. At that point, you just have to bear through with it and keep trying to stay ahead of the fixes in both systems.
Right.
It will just become expensive,
Or
but yeah.
yeah, but if you enter the pause, it will almost certainly end. If you push for a pause, it will almost certainly end with you leaving the company. I think is a better way to frame it for developers. The pause is a very high risk move. It seems like it's very logical and makes sense, but really it's a high risk move that will likely end with you wanting to leave the company.
All right.
All right. I think we'll leave it there. It's all doom and gloom. Don't pause. Also, be kind. Please rewind.
There you go.
You're too
All right.
young. You
No,
didn't know what I was talking about there.
I'm not that. I mean, I'm not that much younger than you. I was alive when Blockbuster and Movie Gallery were a thing. Come on.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you all for listening. I'm Jeffrey Sherman.
And I'm Isaac Askew, and this is Never Rewrite.